Hey 49er fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome to Chat Sports. Plenty to talk about, a crazy weekend in the National Football League, all involving our 49ers. Question first, should the 49ers have traded for quarterback Matthew Stafford? We're going to break that all down later on in this video, but I'm curious. Pin comment down below. I want to see like 150 replies to the pin comment down below. Should they have traded for Matt Stafford? Why for yes and for no? I'm going to see how the fans, you guys, feel about Stafford going to LA. Today's video, of course, is brought to you guys by Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com/49ers for 20% off your first order plus free shipping. More details on that later on in this video. The link is down below in the description box. Okay, Monday here on the 49ers report, and obviously a lot going on over the weekend in terms of quarterbacks. Quarterbacks that did not go to San Francisco, but go to the division, and a lot of big changes here. Let's start with Stafford to LA. Going to be going to the LA Rams. A big, literally a mega trade happening over the weekend. I, of course, tweeted out thinking he would be a 49er. I had, read some stuff, heard some stuff that San Francisco was interested. Turned out does not seem to be the case, as the Rams are sending Jared Goff to Detroit and with multiple draft picks, which we'll get into here in a second. And of course, the big one, you have Matthew Stafford now to the NFC West. He will be the LA Rams quarterback, and that is a very interesting and I think dangerous pairing with Sean McVay inside our division. Okay, so here's the trade. As you guys know, Rams got Stafford, and they essentially were able to unload Jared Goff on his not so great contract. But they had to give up a 2022 second, a 2022 first, and a 2023 first, as well as a 2021 third. Remember, they don't have a first-round draft pick this year due to the Jalen Ramsey trade, and so they had no first to trade the Lions this year, and so it'll be next year's and the year after that's first-round draft pick overall. The initial reaction to this is very simple. The Rams just got a lot better. The Rams just got so much better by upgrading at quarterback, and a team that went to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff and was a playoff team and won a playoff game this past year with Jared Goff as well. I think all of us agree that Matthew Stafford is a better overall quarterback, and the fact he goes to the NFC West kind of further, I think, complicates what is a very good division. You have Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson as your three divisional opponents right now with the Cardinals, Rams, and of course the Seattle Seahawks. And it gets a little scary and a little bit interesting, and the questions now become, should San Francisco either make a trade for a quarterback, or should they have made this trade for Matt Stafford, as we'll get into a little bit lower here in the video. Again, pin comment, answer the question. Should the 49ers have traded for Matt Stafford? Let me know in the pin comment section. Very curious to see how you guys feel about this right now down below. All right, so the question really becomes now, should the 49ers have traded for Matt Stafford? Did they try to trade for Matthew Stafford? As multiple reports over the weekend suggested, up to 8 teams were trying to go ahead and trade for Matthew Stafford and get his services on their football team. And I've did a lot of research here, and we see mixed reports on whether San Francisco was very interested or not interested at all, as I've heard multiple conflicting things on what San Francisco tried to do at the quarterback spot. Peter King essentially says the Niners did make a phone call. Albert Breer says the Niners did not make a phone call, or at least weren't seriously interested. So first off, let's start with Peter King. Here's his tweet. Again, Monday Morning Quarterback. You obviously know his work for NBC. Says, quote, Carolina was very interested in Stafford and competed for him. Denver too. Indy and San Francisco as well. The Rams had to pay more than they wanted, obviously. Okay. Quickly here, Carolina offered 8 overall. We did hear that, so they were offering a first-round draft pick. But he mentions Indy and SF as well, meaning Indy and, of course, 49ers did try to go ahead and trade for Matt Stafford. Now, Albert Breer kind of denies this a little bit in his SI Monday Morning Quarterback.com article, saying, quote, the Niners talked to the Lions in Mobile, that's for the Senior Bowl, but at the time were a little lukewarm and never made an official offer. They'd planned to circle back with Detroit after the weekend, but when things escalated Saturday and the Lions called back, the price had gone beyond what they were willing to offer, in part because they're fine going forward with Jimmy Garoppolo. My sense is the 12th pick was never going to be offered. So there you go, conflicting arguments. So it looks like they did at least make phone calls, but they weren't seriously in contention, as Peter King kind of hinted at that they were in contention as well. It seemed to really be Carolina, Denver, and then, of course, the LA Rams, which, of course, was the team that he ended up playing for. Listen, the 49ers will need to use number 12 if they want to make any sort of quarterback trades this offseason. So if they were not willing to go ahead and give the 12th overall pick, then they never really were involved in the trade discussions. I mean, they might have made a phone call and said, hey, we'll give you a second-round draft pick, and the Lions said, no thanks, and they're like, all right, cool, peace out, we'll stick with Jimmy Garoppolo. That's very much the feel here, because, again, if you want Kirk Cousins, or you want really Carson Wentz, I think, you want Matt Stafford, especially Deshaun Watson, it will take at least a first-round draft pick, and that means at least number 12 overall, as well as additional compensation in terms of other draft picks in later rounds or players at the same time. My overall feeling on this is that San Francisco was interested and they would like to have had Matthew Stafford, but they're also very familiar and confident with Jimmy Garoppolo, and so if the price was too high, as we saw, I mean, multiple first-round draft picks for Stafford to me was a little bit too high. I said on this show weeks ago I'd give up a first and maybe like a third for Stafford, so I think San Francisco checked the price as they should, do your due diligence, and if it's too much, as it was, they said, okay, no thanks, we're really not that interested, we'll go ahead and wait and move on. With that being said, this to me does not bode well for the fans out there who want the Niners to trade for a quarterback, because if they're not willing to give up what is a cheaper guy in Matt Stafford, and again, 2 firsts is a lot, but cheaper overall than, let's say, Deshaun Watson, then that trade overall does not seem to be like a possibility going forward in 2021. Okay, should the 49ers trade the 12th pick? You guys interested in trading the 12th pick for anything? Type T down below for trade, type P down below for pass, and of course pass means keeping that pick as they will look to hopefully maybe bolster the cornerback spot at number 12 overall. Who knows? Great. Before we get into some Jimmy Garoppolo discussion here quickly, again, our sponsor for today's video is Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com/49ers for 20% off your first order plus free shipping, and you can get the perfect package down below. Lawnmower 3.0 has the 8-hour battery, and of course the and it won't cut you guard is what I like to go ahead and call it. And you can use in the shower. It's just a great overall a trimmer, as well as free boxers, a travel bag, the deodorant, everything comes in the perfect package. You can jump on this again for 20% off plus free shipping. The link is down below right now in the description box. I encourage you guys to jump on this deal and pick up the grooming kit, because it's as good as it gets. I use it every single week. I love my stuff from Manscaped. Now, all this, of course, 49er discussion brings us back to the idea of what the quarterback position will be in 2021. So they didn't get Stafford. Now, Stafford comes to the NFC West. Maybe Stafford going to the NFC West makes it all the more important the Niners upgrade at quarterback. But the feeling continues to be they're going to stick with Jimmy Garoppolo. So the Niners, as we said, lukewarm on Matthew Stafford. Maybe they made a phone call at least, but weren't really in on the offer. They didn't want to give the number 12 overall pick. And even though there are other options at quarterback, it still feels like Jimmy Garoppolo is going to go ahead and be the guy, which is what we've been telling you, at least I have, been on this show almost the entire offseason. I mean, you can go back to videos. I mean, this is what you guys should be subscribed to, right? Because we talk about this on a daily basis here on the 49ers Report, and you can go back to my previous videos where I said the gut feeling is that Jimmy Garoppolo stays, and I think that's probably where we're leaning right now, even though I was hoping for a Matt Stafford trade, but expecting and hoping are two different things. Again, make sure you guys are subscribed, of course, for the latest in case they do make a trade, which, you really never know. Now, Mike Garfolo, NFL Network, has a nice tweet out this morning talking about the Albert Breer piece on Matthew Stafford and kind of hints more at the comfortability the Niners currently have with Jimmy Garoppolo. So he says, quote, peep this from Breer. He's like, quote, tweeting the Albert Breer Monday Morning Quarterback article. Good details on Matt Stafford. Also, hashtag 49er fans who have asked me here and elsewhere about what I said on Good Morning Football Weekend. What Breer says here is in line with all of that. Lukewarm interest in Stafford, no official offer, comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo. And that, again, goes back to what we talked about when the Peter King tweet versus the Albert Breer tweet. And Albert Breer saying that they talked but didn't officially make an offer because they didn't want to give up number 12. So, again, I think the detail was they called him up. They said, hey, what's it going to cost? They said, well, at least number 12 overall. And the Niners said, no thanks, and then hung the phone up, and that was end of the discussion as we know it. The only other quarterbacks you want to trade for in the market, I tweeted about this earlier today, Watson, of course, Wentz, Matt Ryan, Sam Darnold, and Kirk Cousins are the 4, or should be 5 if you wanted to still make a trade at quarterback. I think the cheapest guy here is Sam Darnold. He would not take a first-round pick, in my opinion. I could be wrong on that, but Darnold would be the cheapest. I still think Kirk Cousins would cost you a first, even though a lot of people are kind of down in the dumps on Kirk Cousins. Not a playoff team last year, even though he had a good overall football team in general. You won a playoff game 2 years ago, went to the divisional round, but then lost again. And so, I think it'd be some mixed signals on Kirk Cousins, but if you wanted to make a trade, I think that's the guy that makes the most sense. As I continue to say that Watson is too expensive, Wentz probably is not going to get traded from Philadelphia. I was all in on Matt Stafford, but he cost too much, and so that leaves you, if you want somebody in Kirk Cousins, then you go ahead and jump in on Kirk Cousins. And so with that being said, it still feels like, as we talked about this whole entire day, they're going to be sticking with Jimmy Garoppolo whether you guys like it or not, and that's just how it is overall. Okay, final story here on Jason Verrett. There is a kind of a bold free agency prediction piece going on right now with a Bleacher Report trying to talk about re-signing Jason Verrett to a long-term deal. Of course, the Niners have a ton of free agents at cornerback. Basically, all 5 of them will be free agents. We talked about how Verrett was healthy, and he played well in 2020, and I'm all in on bringing him back as one of the starting quarterbacks on this football team. The question is, as Bleacher Report got into, how much are you willing to go ahead and give up for Jason Verrett, because he might have some other suitors in the National Football League, despite the fact that the draft is pretty heavy on cornerback. And so now, even though he had 2 picks in 2020 and played in 13 games and was one of the starters on the outside for San Francisco, The question then becomes a real discussion on, do you want to re-sign him? Do you re-sign a different cornerback? Do you plan on drafting somebody at number 12? It just creates an even more interesting discussion as we get closer to free agency, and then of course the NFL draft in April. Is San Francisco happy with the corners in-house? Re-sign K1 and then of course re-sign Verrett or Richard Sherman, or re-sign all three? Or do you re-sign one of them, like I keep saying, maybe like a K1 Williams and a Jason Verrett, and then draft like a Patrick Surtain, Caleb Farley, or J.C. Horn at number 12 overall? Plenty of options there, but to me it's no surprise the Bleacher Report has already given you a bold 49er free agent prediction, and of course it is Verrett, as he's one of their more important free agents behind Richard Sherman and Trent Williams, as we talked about here on the show many, many times. Okay, should they re-sign Jason Verrett? What do you guys think? Long term, you gonna go for like a big 3-year, 4-year contract? Type R down below for re-sign, type P down below for pass. Ultimately, out for today here on the 49ers Report. Again, I wanted to react to the Matt Stafford trade and update you guys wondering what San Francisco did for that trade. It looks like they made a phone call, but that's about it. And Jimmy Garoppolo remains the starting quarterback of the Niners. Again, Watson's still out there, Wentz, Cousins, plenty of other quarterbacks to trade for, and we'll keep you updated. If they want one, they can go get one, and we'll give you guys a full coverage of that if and when they do. Again, ultimately, out for today here on the 49ers Report. I'm your host, Thomas Mott, signing off. Enjoy the rest of your day.